But let's move on. Let's talk about something the '90s is a huge fan of. Like I was trying to show him a trailer for the season 2 before it was out, and he's like, "No, don't show me that. No, I can't watch that. I gotta be completely just coming there cold." Like so. I know this is his thing, so I'm gonna let him start this off talking about Stranger Things season 2. So, what'd you think about it, '90s?
Oh man, it was great, but it felt like they were I don't want to say just leading to season three, but I felt that they were like, okay, we're not going to give you everything because we got another season to pitch to you, and we probably got one more season. How many are they going to have in total? They said that they're going to finish it off after how many seasons?
I think they said 4. They're gonna do just 4.
Yeah, so three is going to be phenomenal. Phenomenal. Four is going to be a nice farewell, is what I would imagine.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I'm
Um.
hoping that they actually bring it back. But season two was great, man. I'll let you go into detail. You're better at this than I am.
Okay, so I'll guide you along here a little bit. So right off the bat, do you think season 2 is better than season 1?
No,
Okay, why is that?
I'm trying to figure out if it's what's it called? There's a certain term for it. Like you hold the first one, the original, in higher regards than anything else in the series. I'm trying to figure out if I'm doing that.
Mm, right,
Like the first one just introduced me to everybody. It
right.
had a nice climax or whatever. Yeah, although the final boss or whatever you might as well call it because they do the whole Dungeons and Dragons things.
Mm-hmm.
The final boss was more epic on this one. I
Right.
still enjoyed the first boss more.
The
Okay.
Demogorgon.
Yes, and it's like, yeah, you get to see plenty of those in this one, but I don't know, it just felt more epic for the fact that you were just reaching to the tip of the iceberg.
Mm.
But yeah, the first one just had everything that introduced me. The second one brought in a new female protagonist for the kids.
Right.
Um, the adults, I don't think they got anybody new, did they?
They had Sean Astin, who was Bob. They had him. They had Paul Reiser come in as the new head of like the facility. Uh,
Billy.
yeah, they had.
Billy the jerk. So
Yeah,
yeah, they got a bunch of. They got a few new people.
yeah.
All of them I thought were. I've also seen this series entirely at
Mm-hmm.
this point. Um, I kind of disagree. I liked it. I liked it. I think as much as like the first season, but for different reasons. But I also I would hold it in the same regard. It both succeeded in some things and failed where the other one succeeded.
In what way?
Like, I would say pacing was actually fairly good. I felt the pacing was pretty good, except for one moment near the end of the season where an episode completely derails the pacing they had to interrupt us into meanwhile in season three or spin-off series.
Oh yeah.
Besides that, I liked the characters were a little more in depth. They got a little more layers. In the first season, it was mostly just Mike and 11.
Right.
Dustin was just the jokey fat kid with no teeth.
Well, he's not that
And
fat. I mean,
no. It was like, but playing up the I found the chocolate pudding.
Yeah.
So, um, so yeah, in that trope, and then there was the cool, suave, um, black kid who just like was apparently friends with Mike beforehand, like best friends. But I'm like, when? They've just been arguing the entire time.
I don't get
But
the
sure,
idea who, like, I get the whole South Park vibe from these kids, but I don't feel like I don't know who Mike's best friend is.
I think it's
Mike's.
Will. Will is
I would
his
say
best.
yeah. Will
Will is his best friend.
from season two, I think it's more directed to Will. I think that's why he's so more adamant about
'Cause
saving Will.
yeah, and he was gone for so long, so it's kind of, I don't know. For me personally, it's kind of hard for me to see that dynamic.
Yeah.
It's like Hangover or whatever.
Okay. So, so a lot of you are saying like, so from my general sense, so you and '90s feel like that season 1 was pretty much better, had some stronger elements in it throughout. Is that about right?
Well, I do. I think Dusk said season two. Well, I'll let you speak for yourself, Dusk.
No, man, I enjoy season two. I enjoyed a lot of the characters for it. I think they were given more depth in this. For Luke, the one of the friends, he gets a lot more depth in this. You get
Mhm.
to actually see his family for once.
Right.
Um,
Oh yeah.
I love his dad where he asks him a question at one point, like, "Dad, have you ever like had a problem where you have a problem with this girl, a girl that you like, and you have an issue?" And he's like, "What do you do with mom when you like when you're wrong or like have a problem?" He's like, "Well, son, I'm gonna tell you the secret of life. Suck up to her, and it'll work itself out." And he's like, "But what if she's wrong?" Your mother is never wrong. And you just see deep down inside, like, son, I have had enough conversations where that you don't go down that road. You're not gonna win. You're just gonna be miserable. You can be right or you can be happy.
Okay.
there's there's two routes, and you just see it in his face, and I thought that was great. Also, I like Luke's sister. I thought she was pretty much exactly what a little sister is, and how
Mm.
annoying she can be.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I got a code for you instead. It's called code Shut Your Mouth.
Are we allowed to spoil a little bit of this?
Yeah, sure. We'll get into spoilers. Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So before we get into spoilers, I just want to wrap this up so we have like a time code that people want to skip. I greatly enjoyed season two.
Mhm.
I liked the pacing. The soundtrack was very good. I felt all the acting was almost better than it.
Mhm.
I think the thing where the thing falls apart is there's some episodes here and there that kind of pull back a bit, and it is really slow for the first four episodes.
Mhm.
But I like that slow burn because it just adds to the tension. I actually think it's more. This one was scarier than the first one was, much more intimidating than the other ones. And but I had a problem that, you know what, I think it's time for the kids to actually do something instead of letting all the adults do stuff.
What do you?
Like
I
at
mean,
least in the first one they kind of did some stuff, but in this one it just seems like they're we're not doing anything. So I had some other issues here and there, but nothing that really hampered the series anything.
okay.
So for season two, I would personally, I'd give it the same. I would give it probably like a 8 out of 10, a great rating, and I would give season one an 8 out of 10. They're both good for different reasons, but I think they have switching issues. They improve on some things where the other one did, and they falter on some things where the other one didn't.
Okay.
What about you, 90s?
I agree with you on so many aspects because in the first season, like you said, they went on more adventures. It was like Goonies all over again. People felt that same vibe.
Mhm.
Damn
Um,
straight.
the second one, yeah, they didn't do that much, and it's like every time they started to do something or whatever, like maybe Halloween or whatever, where I thought something was gonna happen, he had that episode or whatever. Um, I don't know, I can't I don't do number ratings myself. Like it's kind of hard for me to like put it on a number scale.
Mhm.
That's just me personally, but I'd say check it out. Like check out this whole series from 1 to 5 because this is something that we don't get to see in our modern television television sitcoms or whatever. This is kind of very unique in my opinion. They're going back to the 80s. They're doing the whole what would you call this? A thriller,
Yeah, I would say a little bit of
Yeah.
sci-fi thriller
Yeah.
sci-fi thriller.
Sure.
Yes.
Um.
Yeah.
I mean.
slash horror.
Yeah.
Okay, and I
Like a
can see
little
all of
bit of
that.
horror. A little bit of horror.
And Josh, you can go ahead.
Okay. So coming into season two, I would say that I think that this is better for me. I think it's bigger. I think you can obviously tell they have a lot more money behind it as far as the songs they use. I mean, they use a lot of big songs. They use the Police. They have Cyndi
Yeah.
Lauper time after time. I
I
mean,
did
they
notice that there were more noticeable songs.
yeah. So obviously they have a lot more money. The effects look a lot better than they did.
Oh
Um,
yes.
a lot of the group dynamics have changed because the group as itself, the core group, isn't really together much of the time. They're all kind of separated into sections and groups where Mike is with Will, and then Dustin's with Steve and Lucas, and then the new girl Mad Max, and then 11, she's off doing her own thing, and 11 doesn't really come into play, really meet the group until much later, and then the group as itself doesn't really come together until much later. And I think each person having their own little story kind of fleshes them out a little bit more. Like you said, you were able to meet Lucas's family. Like his little sister, I thought was great. I thought she was really terrific. I thought that the stuff with Dustin, what was going on with him and Lucas kind of having like a little bit of like a love triangle thing with the girl.
Maxine,
Max,
correct?
yeah, Maxine.
Mad Max.
Yeah, Maxine was really good. I thought a lot of the newer characters were pretty good too as well. I thought Sean Astin as Bob. I mean, he just was generally just a good, nice guy, and really lovable.
Yeah.
He's Rudy.
Yeah, exactly. Rudy, Samwise Gamgee,
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings. The entire time, my group we watched it at a Halloween party. Actually, we waited 3 days to watch it near Halloween, and yeah, we were just screaming like, Samwise, Rudy.
Yeah, I mean,
What's up, buddy?
he's just
Like,
lovable. He's just
yeah,
a lovable guy.
apparently his character was supposed to have a shorter time, or at least shorter appearance in it.
The
Like, not as
fuck?
much, not nearly as much of an appearance, but because they just love Sean Astin so much, they're like, screw it, let's bump him up.
Yeah, I mean, because he's lovable. He's just a good dad, and you can tell he's good for Joyce and good for Will, and it's sweet to have him in there.
Yeah, he's the kind of dad that like, he's not the cool dad. He's not the dad you'll be like, hey, bud, but he's the dad that, like, if you needed him, like a phone call, he was a phone call away from helping you out, whatever happened.
Yeah, I mean,
That's like, he's the reliable good dad that you're like, you know what? I don't give a shit that you're boring.
I mean, just really sweet, good guy. And then you have Paul Reiser come in here, and Paul Reiser's not playing really a dick here like he usually does. He usually plays a massive asshole in some things he's in. Not really here, like he kind of plays a guy who's towing the company line, trying to serve both masters here. And I think he does a good job. One of the new characters that I didn't like was the Red Ranger. He comes in, Billy, who's Maxine's sister. Because people know he was the Red Ranger in Power Rangers. And I do like that guy. I did like him in Power Rangers. I do think he's a really good actor. Just here, he's just kind of doing a little too much. He's kind of playing that 80s kind of bully, like, like I don't think he's on the sociopathic level like somebody like in a Stephen King bully, when he's in a movie.
Like, at that point that'd be completely unrealistic. I think he walks that line. But I completely understand where you're going. I was bothered by it, but his character had a purpose.
Right.
Like, it did, at least he had a purpose. It wasn't just for no reason.
Yeah. I mean, that is very true. They show his backstory. Like, so it didn't, come out of nowhere. So you kind of get why, he is the way he is. And then for a character, I'd say with Mike, for being such a big lead that he was in the first season, he's kind of downgraded here a little bit in season 2. Like, maybe because he was filming it, maybe because they didn't have enough time to shoot with him. But it seems like, because it doesn't seem like he was really much in this at all, season 2. It really, the more screen time he gets is Will. And Will really shows what he can do, because he was gone for a large part of season 1. And then here they give him his just due, because he's really great in this season and really shows that he's a really great actor, accomplished actor. And a character that I've had a complete 180 around is with Steve, who first season, beginning of it, he's just a typical 80s douchey boyfriend guy. Then it turns out, okay, maybe he's not so bad after all. Maybe he's kind of cool. Into this season, I was like, okay, I really mess with him. I really like that guy. I think he's a genuinely kind of cool guy. Just kind of got wrapped up probably with the bad people. But, I really do like him. I think he's, it's the same situation where the people with the Duffer Brothers looked at him and went like, because on set, he's a really, good guy and they like him. It's the same thing with Sean Astin, like he was describing. It's just like, yeah, he was supposed to come in and be that 80s douchebag, but they were like, this guy's too lovable. We can't do that to him. Let's turn him around. And I thought that really worked. And this character I had a complete reverse on was Jonathan, who I really loved in season 1, but then it's like this season, he really didn't really get much to do. It felt like he kind of got left kind of to the wayside too. And I guess, yeah, overall, I really like this season. I think better than I did season 1. And let's cut off there and we'll timestamp this and move on to spoilers. So any big spoiler thing you guys want to get into?
I love the bromance between Dustin and what's Steve?
Steve, you like that? Okay.
I look, from a character that was basically a one-note joke of a character.
Mm-hmm.
I like that they've improved him to being this kind of likable character.
Right.
Normally more normally you'd be like, well, this guy's kind of bad. He's not really. He's kind of a shitty character. Who cares? But you learn to really like him, and I think it makes it that much more sad when he just kind of things go the way it does. But I think definitely adds more layers to the. I'm gonna be honest, the most boring part of the series, which has been even in season one, which has always been the Nancy and brother of Will.
Jonathan. Yep.
Jonathan. I liked Jonathan in the first season, but in the second season, he's probably one of my more major gripes. I just what they do ends up being actually very important, but their relationship and tussle and Jonathan himself the entire time, I'm just like, would you just nut up, god damn it?
Mm.
Like the entire time, like before I understood you were losing somebody, you thought your brother was missing, you got sympathy, but at this point you're like, why are you still moping? You like before the things fall apart. I don't know. It seems fairly weird, and I don't know. It just kind of weirded me out. Like all this has been having good pacing with Hopper and 11 and all the kids, and we're kind of having all this, and then off to the side is Nancy and Steve, and that's actually kind of an interesting conflict. And then Jonathan gets thrown in the mix, and you're just like, I don't care.
Mm.
I'd rather focus on everything else.
Okay. Any spoiler things you want to get into 90s at all?
None in particular, actually. I just want to add on to what Dusk was just saying and just say, how was the pullout?
Mm. Yeah.
I love that part.
I can't
Go
believe I forgot that new character actually. The guy that not Nancy's Barb's parents hire because they hire this investigator to find out what really happened to her.
Sold their house.
Yeah, I mean it's a really sad thing. They sold their house, they're desperate to find out what happened to their daughter, and that's eating up Nancy a lot, and that causes some of the rift between their relationship between Nancy and Steve. And I listen. I don't give a fuck about love triangles or something like that. I usually don't care. I think that shit is pretty stupid. But I'm pretty invested in this love triangle. For some reason, like with Nancy and Steve and Jonathan, I'm pretty invested in this. Because I'm like, at one moment, I'm like, I like Jonathan. But then another moment, I'm kind of liking Steve. It's like, I don't know. Like, it seems like a good guy, too. Seems like he brings a lot to the table. And Jonathan, when you look at that guy, just real quick, do you think he kind of looks like a lot like Axl Rose a little bit?
Yes, he does.
I was like, that dude looks a lot like Axl Rose. Like,
he has a very ghoulish face.
Yeah.
I was going to say that, man. He looks like a vampire.
Yeah.
He has a very ghoulish face. He would make a great vampire or a great almost like he would great like if he ever had to do like a method acting, he'd make a great like coke addict, which he does in real life because he got stopped with coke recently.
Yeah.
At the goddamn premiere.
Hey, he likes to get down, man. Apparently he's
man, but that shit is illegal.
Yeah, well, I mean, hey, I'm not gonna...
No. I like arguments of drugs at all. I want to see him in more future episodes. But if they kick him out,
they're not gonna do that. I don't think they're gonna kick him out. They're not gonna do that.
I mean, well, this isn't Hollywood, so it might be different. We don't know.
Yeah.
This is like the first situations like this, other than House of Cards. They just canceled his shit.
Well, that was different. That was something else. I mean, that was the whole separate thing. They have to kick him out. They have to do that. With the whole Kevin Spacey thing and sexual assault allegations. I mean, that forces you to go like, okay, we got to get rid of this motherfucker now. Which
true. And they didn't waste any time.
Yeah. But Brent Gilliman, that was his name, the guy who was like the big Russian conspiracy theorist guy. Yeah, I mean, I thought, he was also a good addition to there. He's not really in it a whole lot that much. He comes up every now and then. Now, how do you feel about the big episode 7? A lot of people just say like, okay, that was just a terrible episode, completely throws the whole season off the track. It actually, some people say it bumps down the ratings for season 2. How did you guys feel about that episode?
For the episode 7?
Yeah, where 11 goes to meet her sister.
If at the very end of season, of the last episode had been after the snow, just before the snowball dance.
Mhm.
If they had shown a scene where they had come full circle from that first beginning episode and showed a 8 number and her looking into like a like looking out, and then all of a sudden is in a pitch blackness and sees 11 and calls out to her, and then they wake her up from it and she goes like like kind of like, what's up, did you see something, and she just goes and like shakes her head, but she doesn't answer. I would have been fine with that,
Mhm.
but they decided to basically admit that, look, we want to try something else. I'm down for you to do that, but have the pacing is completely thrown off by the episode.
Mm.
And also it's somewhat redundant. You don't really need a Yoda mentor for 11. She kind of got that already.
Mhm.
The whole season 1 was a setup to her character, and half of season 2.
Okay.
I felt like her finding, like, all you could have had to have done if you wanted to introduce this character in this episode, why don't you just make a side series anyways, and just she shows up,
Oh
she
no.
disappears. No. She shows up and she's in that black garb, and all he says is, "So what's with the punk rock thing?" And you just like, maybe she'll never discuss it, or maybe you don't need to. And that would have been fine. You know? We didn't need the episode. It was kind of redundant, but overall I didn't hate it, and it didn't bump it down. Just for pace wise, I was just like, what?
Okay. 90s. What did you think about it?
But the reason why I said oh no, because one of my fears is that they're gonna do like Fear the Walking Dead, basically, do a
Mm.
spin-off series and have her as like maybe the star or something.
Right.
But otherwise, I think just put the nail on the head in my opinion. Earlier on, he said they tagged along season 3 like spoiler or whatever. I believe that's what you said.
Mm.
But that's what I think they just did. They're trying to set up season 3 because they're going to involve her later on. She's going to be a big part of it all, and maybe all of the numbers are going to get together and
Mm.
like fight against every Demogorgon somehow. Like, because the
Yeah.
Demogorgons aren't gone.
Right.
This threat is still looming.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean with episode 7, it was a complete just tonal shift of like okay, what the hell is happening? And then she goes to meet these I guess punk rock.
X-Men rejects.
Yeah, X-Men reject punk rocker people who look like they were the thugs in Terminator 1.
Thank you. Yes. I
Uh
was looking for Bill Paxton, and then I got sad.
yeah, like there are all these weird to do with the big colorful mohawk. It's like, okay, that he's easy to spot. Like, hey, I don't know how you're a good
Thank you, man.
criminal when you got this big fucking mohawk that's all multicolored. Like, that's easy to spot. You
And
get-
they're in Chicago. Like, I know my city. At least in the 80s, I still know my city. Like, he would have got caught up on the spot.
yeah, I mean, you got the big Vin Rames looking black dude. You got the crazy looking Cyndi Lauper chick. I mean, like this group is not that hard to find. Like you got the black woman with the huge afro. It's like this group is
Not everybody. That's the 80s though.
that was. I mean, did a lot of black people have big afros back then in the 80s?
Yes, 70s, 80s, and even early 90s.
Okay, all right. I mean, like this group is pretty identifiable. You know, I mean, you'd be pretty easy to pick them out of a group. I think it's kind of cool. They want to expand the world, and maybe they're gonna find all the different maybe brothers and sisters that went through the program. Maybe they don't all have to be alive per se, but maybe some can be there to fight this huge threat. My fear is that coming into season 3, that will this start to turn into like maybe like you said, like maybe like an X-Men type thing, or like heroes or something like that, where you get these people with powers and they start to take over the whole show and they
I'm
start
gonna be honest. I
phase the
kind of
regular people out.
disliked that.
Dislike
That
what?
idea.
I kind of didn't need that. I think Alessia show would have been like, oh, and there are other previous. I just assumed 11 was the last actual good result, and all
Right.
the others had just died.
Yeah. I mean that's what I
It
kind
would
of
have been.
assumed
It
too.
actually would have been cool if they showed the others in like dead form, being like rezzed.
Hmm.
That might have been interesting, and they're just like dead shadow corrupted forms of that thing, of the mind flayer.
Hmm.
But besides that, I'm like, no, I don't need another living version for her to find a lost sister or some shit. Like, but while you're there, you could have done it better. If you're gonna do it, fine. But while you're there, could you have done it a little bit better?
Mm.
Especially when we started that episode on a goddamn cliffhanger.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. That's very true. Yeah, because it's like they do that cliffhanger, and then it's like, oh, let's do this big other side story, and then let's get back into it later. The way 11 did show up at the end though, when she finally meets all the group and they all come back, that was pretty badass though. That was pretty cool though.
It was.
That was pretty badass though. And I guess they just wanted to do where she wasn't always stuck in the cabin there. Because that's kind of boring, just have her there. Like even the actress, even Millie Bobby Brown, she was talking. She was like, I mean, it was kind of dull just me staying there and not really having anybody to play off of that much. And I mean, how do you guys feel about the whole relationship with Hopper and how he like adopted 11? And I thought that was pretty sweet. I thought that was pretty nice. How he's
Yeah, that was within character.
yeah, I thought that was pretty good. That was pretty sweet. Pretty nice.
He's a
Still,
struggling single father.
still, his deputies didn't do shit. I don't know what the fuck they do. They didn't.
They're just like every average deputy I've ever seen in a small town. Like, what do they expect?
Yeah, they just.
I don't love the. I did love the. I like the difference between the two though. There's the dumb deputy and the lazy deputy.
Yeah.
And I like that there's one is clearly smarter than the other, and he just doesn't want to try, and one is just a goddamn idiot. The only thing he says, if I recall from the season 2, that I was like, that was kind of smart, was why is he always like, why like the deputy makes like a weird observation, like why is that always happening? And I'm like, wow, good on you, deputy, you figured something out.
Yeah, good old Deputy Dewey.
Yeah, she's like, Jesus Christ, like in season 1, I thought he was gonna be the first. I'm like, you are so dead.
Yeah, I think
You are doomed for death, and that didn't happen.
I mean, I just think they're just the forgettables. They're the people that won't ever die because it's like, wait a minute, who are you again? Like, what the fuck are you supposed to be? Like, maybe they'll show up. Maybe maybe they'll do like a big Avengers. All the spin around, and maybe they'll be a part of it. They could be the Black Widow or Hawkeye or something like that. Helping with crowd control or something. Maybe in season 3, season 4. But any just to wrap this up, any bold predictions for season 3 at all? Like anything you hope to see? Anything you think they're gonna do? 90s at all? Dusk for season 3.
They're probably gonna bring back the punk group.
Mm-hmm.
I like them to be a little less cliched.
Okay.
But if they do bring it back, have them matter.
Right.
Please.
Yeah. Now, I will probably predict that now they're going to be in high school now, early high school.
Right.
So that's going to be interesting. I'm curious to see how Elle will handle bullies, quote unquote.
Right.
Unquote. I hope it doesn't turn into Elfen Lied.
Okay.
Because I hate that. Because I hate that so much, and I hope that anyone ever goes down that road ever again. The world only needs one of that, and even then, I would argue against it.
Okay.
So honestly, I predict that it'll probably be more focused, hopefully on the Mind Flayer and a little bit more on the world. But I guarantee about half of it will be like everything's returning to normal.
Okay.
Although I do want to see the consequence of Steve getting his ass kicked to Billy, even though Steve gave up like an amazing fight.
Right.
I actually and he got his ass kicked. I actually hated Dustin for that. Like, yeah, it's okay, buddy. You gave it a good shot. I'm like, where the fuck were you, Dustin? He was getting his they're all yelling at it, and Maxine was the only one who had the balls to pick up the fucking bat.
Oh, she picked up a syringe. Oh well, she picked up.
Yeah, she picked up the syringe, and then she picked up the fucking bat.
Yeah, the spike. Okay. Bat. Yeah. Hey, did you catch?
But otherwise, he was gonna fucking murder Steve.
Did you catch any like homoeroticism, like when they're in the shower together?
Yes, absolutely. I think that was a callback to 80s movies like Top Gun.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of things homoeroticism in the 80s movies.
Yeah. I mean, so do you think at all coming into season 3 that with Lucas maybe being with Max, there's going to be some racial tension at all with her brother and with the town? Like, I mean, what do you think? Do you think that's going to come into play at all?
I didn't even think about that. That like with his father, like with their father or whatever. Like, you might find that. But then again, he's an asshole in general, so I don't know if it's going to be inspired by race.
Well, I mean, Billy was talking to Maxine about I told you not to be hanging around that boy. Like he pointed out him specifically, not just Dustin or the other group. It was like him specifically. He was like, what have I told you? Don't be hanging around him specifically. I mean, he pointed out him specifically. He even attacked him, like pushed him up against the dresser or the armoire or whatever. He pushed him up against that when he entered the house. And like episode 8. So I don't know. I mean, that may come back into play somehow. Hey, 90s, what do you think for season 3, prediction wise? I mean, what do you think was going to happen? What you want to see happen?
Season 3, pretty much everything you guys have said so far. I'm wondering, like, if Max is actually one of the. Does Max know about 11 yet?
Yeah.
She knows about her psychic power. Like, well, okay, yeah, he mentioned everything, but she didn't see anything, did she?
Yeah, because she was in the house when 11 entered the house.
11 didn't do anything in the house, right?
No, she came in and she threw the Demogorgon dog through the window, and she opened the door. Yeah, you watched the series, right? Like you watched it, right?
I'm sorry, I forgot about it. It's only one scene. It's like 10 seconds. I'm sorry, but I'll just say this much. Like, I started thinking to myself early on that she might be one of the numbers. She might be one of the children, but
really,
at this point, she couldn't be hiding it this long. Like, it would make no sense. But
What children?
she might be one of the experimental children, like 11 and 8.
What Maxine?
Maxine, yeah, Mad Max.
Hell no.
Yeah,
Like that makes no sense. Like I'm all down for theories of shit, but there's no way.
Yeah, there's no way.
I was holding on to it for so long. I got delusional at that point.
I understand, but I gotta wake you from that dream, buddy.
Yeah.
Because he kept saying that she's not his sister, but then that got explained later on. It's like everything unraveled.
You know what I would really like from Stranger Things to go for season 3 to really catch me off guard?
Mm-hmm.
Bring in Russian agents. Bring me like a secret Russian agent who's just been in the series the entire time. Let him be the deputy, and he's just been secretly a Russian agent, and he's been watching all this shit go down. He's been playing dumb. If they do that, I will openly get up and clap.
I mean, maybe one of the experimental children will be Russian. Maybe.
You know what? If I'm down with that. If that's the case, sure. I mean, I want to because this is 1984. Next year it'll be 1985. The Cold War is getting really intense by that point. They've been mentioning Russia a lot, especially in season 2. So I think that'd be a very interesting angle to show in like, look, it would even be interesting if the Russian agent is like, look, we can't let these children into anyone's hands. Yeah. Like we got enough problems with nukes. If we give one of these things and put it on the open battlefield, we're all dead.
That would be maybe they will get into something like that. That would be pretty interesting if they do get into something like that. But also, just a final thought on this. I got to call bullshit on this, and I had to really bump season 2 kind of down. I just remembered this. They were eating KFC instead of Popeyes. I gotta knock down a lot of points for that. I mean,
His finger looking good.
A Popeyes is better.
It is. Popeyes is better, but you got to remember, KFC was still pretty damn good back in those days.
Maybe.
Now it's garbage.
Yeah. So,
moving on, man.
Well, just to add my final thoughts, I can't wait to see them play on the NES because you said 1985.
Damn
that's
right.
When it came out.
Because they were talking about before. It's like, did you get the Atari?
Oh man.
Yeah, they were talking about the Atari. We barely saw it briefly. That's one thing I thought that was weird. One last tangent. What did y'all think about Billy hitting on Mike's mom?
Right.
That's another good prediction for season 3. Will Billy fuck Nancy's mom and cause a divorce? That's also really good. I think that'll happen.
I'm gonna be honest. I love Mike's dad. He's like slowly stealing the show from me in a low key way. Because he's like, just every appearance he's in, you just like I agree with Dustin. Like, you are completely fucking useless sometimes, and he's just like, language.
I mean, he's just that typical dad who just doesn't give a shit. I mean,
right. But I kind of love that. I love in this craziness. There's just that, whatever. I'm just doing my job.
I mean, yeah. So, I mean, like chances that you think Billy will have sex with Nancy's mom and then they'll get a divorce pops. Like, I'd say about 60% that happens.
I'll give it a 90%. 69. Giggity giggity.
Okay,
All right.
90%. All right. Okay, so moving on from Stranger Things season 2. Hello, thanks for checking out our content. If you liked it, let us know, and if you didn't, let us know that as well. If you want to see more content, we post every Saturday on SoundCloud and YouTube at The Afternoon Tune. You can also find us through various social medias, Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, all one word at The Afternoon Tune. And if you don't deal with any of that social media stuff, you can also find us through our email at theafternoontune@gmail.com. And don't forget to always stay tuned.